Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will start by introducing myself. I'm Eric, and I'm the camp manager at the Safari collection, which is based in Masai Mara and at Sala's camp. I will start by introduction of the camp itself. Opened in 2004 in the most secluded area, the southern part of Masai Mara. We call it the underused zone, with the dream of making the Mara a better place. And this dream is definitely handing over the Mara to the next generation in a better way than we found it as this generation. The Mara is historic. The Mara has a history of over-tourism, which we are working hard and tirelessly to make sure that we don't continue facing this this challenge that we have. Historically, where we are situated as a camp, this area is known for as a hideout. Before the camp came through, it was known for as a hideout for a lot of poachers who would come through in the Mara and do what they do best. And with this in mind, it was because of less human activity, and the Mara has been situated in an area where I would say unknowingly has actually reduced this problem that we have that we had in this area. Moving on to the next our next slide. Sala's camp, like I said before, it is right at the border of Tanzania, and we face a few challenges that we have. Since the camp is situated in a reserve, conservation was part of the first challenge we had, and we have partnered with a lot of partners, including the Narok County government, in monitoring the pangolin, which is one of the most trafficked animal in the world. And we also have partners with 51 Degrees and the Narok County government as well to reduce the impact of rhino poaching within the Mara itself. And the second challenge we face as a camp is where we're situated, identifying our community, since we are situated in the Masai Mara National Reserve. So it has been a challenge for us to actually identify which community we have. But with that being said, we have actually managed to find ways on how we can actually sort that one out. Culture, with a lot of generations coming through, we realize that tradition versus sorry about that. We realize that tradition versus contemporary Kenya is a challenge that we are facing as we go by. And this is on commerce, over-tourism. Over-tourism has been a challenge in the Mara for the longest of period. You realize that, especially in high season, we have a lot of vehicles surrounding one sighting. If you go to the river crossings, you realize that we have a lot of vehicles blocking some of the traditional wildebeest migration routes. The resolutions that we have come up with as a camp and as a company, firstly, on conservation, we have then partnered with the Pangolin project, and we have contributed just last year alone, we have contributed an amount up to $6,000 as a company, as a camp. And then the use of vehicle as well. This vehicle was donated, and it was actually used solely for this purpose. We have actually hosted the whole project, and the people who were working on this project in the Mara. We have also partnered with the Narrow County government, as well as 51 Degrees, our founding partners, to come up with a project that is very close to my heart, which is we built an ops room and brought in the Earth Ranger program. The Earth Ranger program is a conservation tool that is being used all over Africa, and I would say all over the world. In most of these countries, this project is being used mostly for anti-poaching. However, in the Mara, we have decided to take a step further and make this as a tool of more human behavior management. Of all the problems that I've mentioned before, with this in mind, we aim to use this this wonderful tool to monitor all collared wild animals in the Mara, and we also can use it to monitor livestock encroachment in Masai in the Masai Mara National Park. Traditionally, the Maasai people that live surrounding in the surrounding communities, they are pastoralists, and their wealth is figured by how many animals, livestock you have in your pen. And with this, because of so many cows that we have outside the reserve, a lot of grazing area it can be easily depleted, especially with when we don't have a lot of rain in the Mara. So they end up encroaching into the reserve. And with this, when it's fully implemented, you can easily track and manage the encroachment of these animals into the reserve. Anti-poaching is also, we have already started the first phase. I would rather say the second phase. We have already tagged and put rhino trackers on. I'm holding one tracker that we actually put in the one. We have done about 35 rhinos already. All this after we have put the trackers and the tags. You will be able to then collect the data from these useful trackers in real time. You will also be able to monitor from the control room the behavior of these animals and why we are facing this challenge of poaching at the moment. And monitor all vehicles. This is very close to my heart because you get to see that on one sighting, you have 30 to 40 vehicles, if not more. And someone who's sitting in the control room, if every vehicle then gets a tracker when they get into the reserve, you will then realize that someone who's sitting in the control room, in the ops room, can easily see that we have a problem in this area, and they can easily deploy a ranger from wherever they will be to quickly mitigate and control the problem before it gets worse. So this will actually work very well in controlling the sightings we have and making them more organized on my side. Then on it also helps the Narok County government. Historically, you can see that and statistically, a substantial amount of money is lost on revenue collection every year in the Mara. And with this implementation, we will be able then to close all those gaps and improve revenue collection for the reserve management team. With that in mind, we also have some projects that we do in camp, like replanting trees in both in camp and all over. And this is something very interesting because you realize that even the staff, when they go back home, they've actually quickly caught up on the fact that we are working for a company that really loves nature. You realize that on each and every one-on-ones that I have with my staff as a manager, you ask them what they have done in their personal life to make sure that they leave the world a better place and hand it over to the next generation a better place. You realize that most of the staff members will actually tell you that I've planted trees, and this is very heartwarming in the sense that you realize that as a company you are actually winning slowly as you change the world. Then as part of the challenges, we jump over to community. We as a company, we employ quite a substantial amount of people. As a company as a whole, we have about 450 employees. And as my colleague Alzan said earlier on, most of us as Africans, we come from big families. You realize that as one person, you're taking care of 10 to 15 people. And with this in mind, you can calculate the amount of people that are being helped through employment. My colleague Alzan from Sasab has just touched on the girls that we have in our kitchens. These are beneficiaries of the chef's program that we have, and since they have excelled and done very well in their training programs, we have actually taken it upon ourselves as a company to then show the people out there in the communities to show that we are a company that cares, and we can actually train and help with jobs whenever we can. And with that being said as well, we also have a guide program that we have as a company. We actually do our best to make sure that we try and equip these the people that we have, our employees, those who want to grow their careers into being guides. We also look into that as well. In the communities, we support the dental clinics around. Last year alone, we had 406 patients that from the surrounding communities that we have actually that have been helped in these dental institutions. Then we also help by supporting the Rhino Ranger team through uniforms, and you realize that when they come through, sometimes they come through for their cars repairs in camp and a fuel as well. And just last year alone, we raised some 11,500 for the equipment and uniforms as well. Conservation education is something that we take seriously as a company. We also make sure that we give a lot of education to not only to the staff members we have, but to the community through the kids that would have actually come through. We have a program called the Safari Kids that actually managed to bring through children from the neighboring communities who traditionally they would see these animals as their enemy, because when they leave the reserve, they go and attack their livestock. And traditionally, these have been an enemy. However, with this, you realize that the kids see these animals from a different angle, and they start seeing the benefit of having these animals and seeing the benefits of tourism. Moving on to culture, as a company and as a camp, we celebrate the Kenyan culture through local artists in residence. We have our own called Adrian Duma, who is a Kenyan who comes through in all of the camps that we have. And sometimes he showcases his talent. We also have facilitated the sale of his paintings to the guests that we have. Celebrating the Maasai culture through supporting local enterprise. The Maasai culture, you realize that they are very big on their bidding. They're very big on bids. And we, in our shop, we actually sell this merchandise on behalf of these local vendors that we have. And that's how we actually support the local culture. Moving on to commerce. Last year alone, that is 2023, we collected an amount adding up to $447,000 United States dollars. And this was through conservation, through the park fees. And this is used to support the reserve management and the community development at large. We also have a bird night fee to support the Mara Rhino Ranger team. So what happens is a certain amount of money is taken from the bed night that our guest pays per night, and that is channeled through to the Rhino program that we have in the Mara. The Earth Ranger Tours, the Earth Ranger also plays a very important role in this. Historically, you actually can realize that the Maoris have lost a lot of revenue through not having substantial or very good channels of collecting their revenue. So with the Earth Ranger coming into play, you realize that they will have a better channel, and they will actually have collect a more substantial amount of money, and this will help us deal with the over-tourism that we also have in the Mara. In conclusion, the outcomes. To support the management in communities, like I said earlier on, we have collected about $447,000. This will help go a long way in helping the communities and the management at large. And the dental clinics that we have, we have managed to help about 406 patients last year alone, and quite excited about this because it's something that you realize that a lot of people within the neighboring communities wouldn't have actually have this kind of treatment. Then onto the pangolin project. We donated something like, we donated about $6,000 and the use of a conservation vehicle. Then 11,500 went to the Murahwa Rangers on uniforms and equipment. We also have 54 students taken on educational safaris, which helps them see these animals, how they benefit from these animals rather than having them as their enemies. In conclusion, that is a picture of which was taken when we were busy with rhino notching and tagging these animals, and which was very successful. We are hoping that the second phase of notching and tagging will take place in March next year. Thank you very much for listening. And